Welcome to assignment 3. This is our ELA lesson planning assignment. So here's the rationale for why I want you to experience lesson planning in ELA. So lesson planning, as you know, is a reality for a teacher. The more practice planning, the better we will become at unifying our outcomes, learning opportunities, differentiation, transitions, and closures. When we analyze, create, and implement, this allows us the opportunity to reflect upon all aspects, including the strengths and weaknesses of our own planning, right? We all have strengths and weaknesses in our planning, and what we want to do is try to find our strengths and then utilize those more than our weaknesses. The reflection portion is often overlooked in the busyness of the teaching day, but it is crucial in our growth as educators. And I think that sometimes what hopefully this analysis will do in this creation of a lesson plan will show you that reflection are the scrawled notes that you write down after. It's like, whoa, that took way longer than I thought, or the kids actually were kind of bored or loved this, they loved this aspect. That's now what the reflection is going to look like. Okay, so here's your assignment. You're going to analyze 2 grade 3 ELA lessons using the assignment 3 lesson plan analysis chart. It's on Blackboard, and I'll show you that in a minute. Basically, what I've done is I've given you a reading. It's just law lesson. Don't worry too much about law, what law means. You'll know by the end. From the reading teacher. And here's its location. I've included the entire article if you're interested, but the lesson I want you to analyze begins on page 399. Okay, so you just have to read the lesson. Basically, it's a description of how a teacher is running an ELA lesson, and then you're going to analyze that lesson using the lesson analysis chart. The second one is a 45-minute lesson on a video from the National Institute of Excellence in Teaching ELA. And again, I want you to use that lesson plan chart. Let's actually go there right now so you see the lesson plan analysis chart. So this is it. So basically, you can fill in the analysis chart with full sentences or point form notes. It doesn't have to be big prose, it can just be point form. So you're going to look at the specific components of the lesson. So these should be familiar from 371, right? These sort of pillars of ELA. And what I want you to do is look at specifically, what did the teacher include that supported literacy, oral language, reading and writing development? Now, not all of these are necessarily in every lesson, but look for them. And if you have an idea of how the teacher might have included a component, also add that in. So put in something like, I think if the teacher had, brought it in actually had talked about the different words that were in the example, that would have bolstered the vocabulary, like that kind of thing. And then you put that in this section. Lesson plan. Now, if you were to fill in a lesson plan from this lesson exemplar, what would each component be? Again, these should be familiar. What do you think the teacher's hook was? What were their learning opportunities? How did they check? What were the materials, transitions, differentiation, and closure? Okay. Again, if you didn't see that, but you have an idea, put it in here. Then this is just sort of general teaching components of the lesson. What were the pedagogical decisions in this exemplar that would work in any subject? So if you're teaching math or science or phys ed or music, whatever, what are some things that could go cross curricular? So what did the teacher expect the students to know and be able to do? Was this communicated? So this is talking about, remember what Terry was talking about with John Hattie's, kids have to kind of know what is the point of this lesson? What are we as teachers expecting them to learn? And was that obvious? And if it wasn't obvious, how could the teacher have included it? Did the teacher appear organized and prepared? What questions? Where were they located? Were they all just remember, what color is the red wagon? Were they there, or was it more about application of the information? Or did they have to actually create something new with the information? What was the feedback? How did the teacher assess, right? How did the teacher build community class or a classroom community in there? And then I want you to write an overall takeaway to take into practicum. So from this lesson, I want you to think about, okay, when I go into my 3rd year practicum, what can I actually take from this analysis? So it might be something like, I never knew that I had to repeat a concept in so many different ways to ensure that the students really understood the concept. Okay, so 250 words, it's like a page. Don't give me 1,000 or 2,000 words. Give me 250 words. What are you going to take forward into your practicum? Okay, so that's this analysis part, and that's where you're going to use the lesson plan analysis. Then, using your information, your newfound knowledge about how to create an ELA lesson, you are going to actually create, teach, and then reflect upon one ELA lesson focusing on one of the following themes. So I want you to kind of start to think thematically. So if you're in, these are some big topics that I think we need to tackle, and we'll talk about this in class. I think we need to not shy away from some big topics in elementary. So I'm leading you to try to tackle those. So you can choose power and control, you can choose humanity, inhumanity, and you can choose loss. I was actually just reading an article that talked about how kids really want to talk about loss, because if they never talk about it, and their dog dies, or their grandfather dies, or their best friend moves away, they have no reference for how to feel about that, or how to move forward. And so I think it's important that we talk about these big issues, because we will really help them move forward as young people. Okay. Suitable books for grade 1 to 6 students on these topics are available for the MHC library. These are all in the library. Check out the titles and there's a nice little LibGuide there. You can check them out and then just go get the book and create your lesson plan. Using one book on the theme, create a lesson plan that you will teach to a partner. So you're just going to teach a partner. You're not teaching the whole class. Okay. It needs to be 25 minutes. And you need to be able to complete it in that time. So I want you to get all the way from the hook all the way to the closure in 25 minutes, okay? Use your MHC education lesson plan template and fill in all parts of the lesson plan. Your lesson should be focused on your practicum grade, right? So if you are out in grade 6, then you would teach something that you could actually potentially use in the classroom, okay? But you have to teach it at the pace of your colleague, right? Like, don't be going, repeat after me, that kind of thing. Like, teach to the pace of your colleague. It's always a little weird when you teach your colleague, but it will give you that opportunity to try out your lesson planning. Be sure to bring all needed supplies. So bring your book. If you want them to create an origami, bring paper, be the teacher, be prepared, bring the stuff. Create a lesson plan that incorporates pedagogical concepts from our education classes. So I want to see you trying some stuff that you've learned in your classes, and create a lesson plan with your practicum students in mind. Okay. After you teach your lesson, fill in the reflection and revision portion of the lesson plan. Use the following criteria. What would I keep the same if I taught this lesson again? What would I change? Did the lesson meet my learning outcomes? If they did it or not, how did I know that they did? And what have I learned about myself as a teacher through creating and teaching this lesson? I want you to submit all parts of the assignment together through Blackboard. Don't give me piecemeal, just put them all together and send them. You can send in separate documents, but I want them all together. So this is due October 11th. So it's the analysis chart for the law and the NIET video, and then your lesson plan. Here, you can change your lesson plan between teaching it and handing it in if you really want to. Like if you said, whoa, that makes no sense, I really want to change it, you absolutely can, but it's not necessary. Okay, and there's the breakdown. I'm just going to show you the lesson plan template. Oops, where'd it go? Here it is. Okay. It's basically the exact same lesson plan template that you've seen all your life here at MHC. The only thing I added, and we'll talk about this, is the ELA fundamental code. What I want you to do is use this actual color coding here. So when you write here, when you write your objectives that are directly from the program of studies, I want you to say, okay, actually that outcome is absolutely comprehension, or that's absolutely fluency. And I want you to color coordinate it so that if you look back here, and all you have is, let's do this, vocab, you might go, I probably need to bring in maybe some comprehension. Maybe I need to bring in some fluency in this lesson, right? You won't ever in a short lesson, like a 30 to 45-minute lesson, do all of these, right? That's unrealistic. But you should be looking at least 2 to possibly 3 of the fundamentals that you will incorporate in this lesson. So I wanted you to color coordinate it so that it's an easy visual look. So when you look, you can be like, oh, I'm only doing vocab. I really probably need to bring in some comprehension. And the only other thing that I changed, that I added in, was I added in this Bloom's, use Bloom's verbs, and I added in an actual Bloom's taxonomy verb chart. Let's go there actually. See if I can do it. Basically, when you are writing your, actually, let's go back here. When you are writing, how will you know students have achieved the learning outcomes? Put in one of these verbs and it will work, because if you don't, it's too general or you can't actually assess it. So if you say students will alphabetize the vocabulary words in partners, it's like, can you actually picture what the students are doing? Yeah, they're in partners, they're alphabetizing the vocabulary words from the day. Boom. That's a great point to put in here. How will I know students have achieved the learning outcome? Okay, everything else is exactly the same as your lesson plan that you know so well. All right, hopefully that helps. Assignment 3, boom, boom, bye-bye.